Welcome to Season 2 of the SOAR podcast, the place for creative entrepreneurs who want to build healthier, happier, more profitable self-employed businesses. I'm your host, Ray Hyde Cornell, business mentor at Chiron Consulting and CEO and senior copywriter at Cornell Content Marketing. Get ready to soar. Welcome to the SOAR podcast. Today we have with us the lovely Cathy Nesbitt. Cathy, tell everybody about your business and multiple ventures. You have many things going on, so tell me about it all.
Okay, in a nutshell. Okay, my working title is Cathy Crawly Laughing Bean Queen. Thank you for laughing. It's simple solutions for today's challenges. Worm composting, indoor worm composting for managing some of our scraps, sprouts for eating, grow your own, and laughter for overall health and wellness. Yeah. That's it. It's very simple.
I love
and
it's
that you it's the 20th anniversary of Cathy's Crawly Composters.
20 years you've been doing this.
20 years.
Wow. And you say that this is simple, and yet I'm like, how did this woman build this business based on worms and composting? So tell me from the beginning, how did you even get into this? How did you start your own business? And how did you know that this was the right business for you?
Oh, that's great. I saw a big problem. I'm located in Canada, near Toronto, largest city in Canada. And in 2002, our landfill closed, where the garbage goes, the dump.
Yeah.
And when the landfill for the largest city in a country closes, it's a big problem, right? 6 million people in the Greater Toronto Area. And although Canada is second largest country in the world, we couldn't find a place to site a new landfill. And we started to export our garbage to the US.
Oh.
Wow. And 1,000 trucks sorry about the background.
Okay.
1,000 trucks at that time, 1,000 trucks a week, 200 every day, like 18-wheelers. Can you imagine? Wow. So I saw a solution. That's why I was like, man. And, so there is a how I got interested in worms and how I knew that was a solution. But I had a solution, indoor composting with worms. Half the people lived in condos, townhouses without space to do outdoor composting.
Yeah.
And I do understand that everybody that lives in a house doesn't necessarily do composting, but they could. If you live in an apartment, it seemed like, oh, there's no solution. So I had a solution. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so great. And, a series of things led up to it. I got injured at work anyway, whatever I would. And that's why I started my business. And I believe as I was seeing, when we call something garbage, it's garbage. Like our food scraps were like, ooh, garbage. But it was yesterday's dinner. How could it be the devil today?
Yeah. So did you already have a passion for composting and gardening and all of that before you started the business and before the landfill closed?
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. So I will go back. And I moved out of Toronto in 93, bought a house. I couldn't wait to start gardening and composting. Thank you for that piece. Yes. So I loved it. I loved, like, composting is so amazing, even without worms. You put your scraps in, your banana peels and coffee grounds and your leaves and weeds from the yard, and then like magic. And then a certain amount of time later, 6 months or so, you have soil. Yeah. What? Yeah. Wow. Carrots and onions yesterday and today, soil. How can that be? And it's perfect plant food. And I knew that, as an avid gardener, I knew you apply the compost, the plants are happy, right? And they're nutrient rich without chemicals, right? Anyway, so I had that piece. So the landfill closed, and then I was like, oh my gosh, why don't we do worm composting? And so the worm composting, for anyone that's like, oh, that's creepy. I was afraid of worms. So again, when I moved up in 93, we have messages in our path. And I think when we pay attention, I wasn't paying attention. I kind of was, but not really. I was chalking things off. And I am a person that tries things. I definitely am an experiential person. I love new experiences.
Yeah.
And I think that we should try things. So somebody might say to you, "Oh, you won't like worm composting, worms in the house. That's not very nice." But imagine if I never tried it. Imagine if I never tried it. So what happened in 93, a teacher friend asked me to look after her worm bin for the summer. And I was like, "Oh, worms in my house, gross." Okay. But I wanted the black gold, right, that the worms create. So I took on the challenge. My house was full of fruit flies. It was a horrible experience because I
Oh
wasn't doing it
no.
properly. I didn't,
Okay.
right? I didn't manage it. That was my first experience. It was fine. I got the black gold. I kept the worms alive. All was well. And I said, "I'm never doing this again. No, gross, right? Okay, I did it. I got the black gold. I'll just buy worm poo." But if there's no worm farmers, right? Have you ever met a worm farmer before?
I have not.
Right? That's what, so it's interesting. Anyway, that's a whole nother topic, but so I said, "I'm never doing it again." And then I got my psych degree in 2000, got a job at a group home, working with challenged adults, another piece that's very close to my heart. And they had 10 homes in a farm and they didn't compost. And the greenhouse manager said, "Hey, why don't we do like," and I said, "Why don't you compost?" And they said, "We don't need fertilizer because we have cows." And I said, "Well, so what? Like, you're creating all this food waste and then
Yeah.
paying to get rid of it. You pay over here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Instead, you could, create a program, have a work site where it's turned into compost. You put it on your anyway, beautiful." So that's how my business came about. It's just I saw a need, I had a solution, and I already had a passion.
I think this is a really important story for people to hear because so many people think, oh, I just love to knit or I love to paint or I love to play music, but I could never turn that into a business. And yet you've done it. And there's so many other people who have done it. So many people we've had on this show who have done exactly that to the point where, let me ask you, does your work feel like work?
It doesn't anymore. No, absolutely not. And I didn't even know that I was an entrepreneur. So I kind of had that missing piece. I was told, get a job, work hard, and you'll get a watch when you
Yeah,
retire in 30 years or whatever.
exactly.
And it never even made sense. But I did that. I was a secretary for 20 years before launching out. And that's what I would say to people, that time that I worked in corporate was valuable. It gave me a lot of skills.
Mhm.
Like being a secretary for 20 years, I ran the company,
Yeah, yeah,
right? The secretary I was the president's secretary at a very prominent watch company, and I was the gatekeeper, So
yeah.
you certainly have customer service, you have your public speaking, you have to troubleshoot when there's challenges with people, like you have to manage different things. So I just missed that, and I didn't even realize that. Like, it's really funny how I think we go to school and we learn like such small amount of things, not really how to survive in life, or it's how to survive,
Yes.
not to thrive.
Exactly. Exactly. We
Like
learn
we're
the bare minimum for survival in the construct of Western society, not being a human and being a
right.
social being and being a spiritual being and all of these other kinds of beings that we are. We just learn how to be a bee in the hive.
How to be a bee, yeah, how to just
Yeah.
like be a cog, do your part.
Mhm. Yeah.
Right, we're not taught about relationships and how, if you have a conflict with somebody, it's okay to
Yeah.
have a difference of opinion, of course.
And so that
But you don't
corporate
have to, but you don't have
life.
to break up like that's it, we're done.
Right, right. And I knock the W-2 traditional employment world a lot on this show and just in general, but there are things that we always learn from any experience, including those corporate ones. And so it sounds like that really sets you up to have a huge resume of skills because as the secretary, like you said, you did everything. Your job description was this big, but actually it was, a mile long. And
It's
so
the other box that's so big.
yes, exactly. So there's another part to your business. Tell me about this laughter piece.
Oh, thank you for asking me about laughter. I was waiting. It was bursting out. So, yeah, so passionate about the worms. At the beginning, I wanted to put Like my mission was to put worms in every living space, every school, every apartment, every business, every house, so we'd no longer have to truck it around.
Yeah.
How cool. Okay. And I didn't hear when people said, ooh, worms in the house. I didn't hear it. I knew they said it, but it was like background noise. Because I was on purpose. I was like, no, this is simple. You need this. So I wasn't paying any never no mind. And then 2012, one more person said, ooh, worms in the house. So I'm in the worm business 10 years, one more, and I heard it. It hit my heart. And I was like, this is, wow. Oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? How am I going to put worms if people are afraid of them? Like I was. How are they going to hear my message? And the very next day, I was about to doff my mission. I was like, I should just get a job. This would be way easier. Because really, anyone wanting to start your own thing, just know that it's not like free lane. You're not like sitting around, I'm the boss, you be, I'm an entrepreneur. No, you're not unless you are making money.
Yeah, it's a lot harder than it looks.
Right. And you got to love it. So pick something that you love. Don't follow the money. Don't pick something that's going to bring you tons of money necessarily. We got to eat and we got to pay our bills, but we got to be happy. I believe our birthright is to be happy. I really, really do. So the next day after having that thought, I'm really intuitively guided. I do get a lot of messages, as we all do.
Yeah.
I pay attention.
If you're paying attention.
I pay attention. Yes. Thank you for that. So the next day I was at a business meeting and the speaker did a 5-minute intro into laughter yoga. And I don't even do yoga. I'm sure it's a fine thing. So this is just laughing. It's the yoga part is the practice of the laughter and the deep diaphragmatic breathing. So it's doing, gentle movement and stretching, but it's just laughing and playing, really. So I was like, laughter yoga, cool. What's that? Interesting. And then that same week, I was at a business networking event, hundreds of people. The very first woman I met was a laughter yoga teacher. And I was like, wow, 2012, laughter yoga's mainstream. And she said, no, it isn't.
You had just happened to meet 2 laughter yoga instructors in a short span of time. That's an example of those universal signals where someone's like, hey, pay attention. Let me put it right here in front of you so you can't miss it. Please see it.
Right. And further to that, Toronto's a pretty big city. So it was in Toronto. This woman had a laughter club, 5-minute walk from my mother-in-law. And I love my mother-in-law. So we would have date night. So I'd say, hey, want to go to laughter yoga? We would go out for dinner and then we go to laughter yoga. And
that's so cute.
So cool. Like it was so fun. But it's not easy. Just like the worms, the laughter is not an easy sell. You're right, because like people are like, why would I pay for a laughter club? It's weird. There's no jokes. What is going on here? Like it just seems too weird.
And it's almost like people want to be miserable. They're more comfortable in their unhappiness. I don't understand.
Well, I don't know. I think we're hesitant to change.
Yeah.
And we are creatures of habit. So if something's really outside of our zone, like laughing out loud for nothing seems too weird. So, rather than going to try it, like I'm a trier, I'm an experiencer, like go once and see, like, if you don't like it, you don't have to go again.
Yeah.
You're probably not going to die if you go and do that.
You're not going to die of laughter.
So go and try things anyway. So her club was at a very busy part of Toronto. Tens of thousands of people live in that quadrant, in condos, high rises, and she couldn't keep her club open because there wasn't enough people. And I just was like, wow, what's happening? Like, they don't know. They don't know this fun thing is right here. And so I got trained as a leader, and then I got trained as a teacher. I'm a laughter ambassador appointed by the founder of laughter yoga himself. So let me tell you about laughter yoga. Started in 1995 by a medical doctor in India, Dr. Madan Kataria, and his goal is world peace. So can you imagine, with my kind of 3 strands, I have world peace and world hunger solved. Wow. That's impressive. And I say that in all my power, Ray, because I believe that if everybody had worms indoor composting, and I don't mean worms in your belly and whatever, if you're afraid, I don't want to traumatize anybody. I really don't. I've met a lot of adults who were traumatized as children by worms, right? Not by the worms themselves, but by somebody chasing them with a worm or a sibling, something, right? They had an experience with worms. So if you were traumatized as a child, you're not looking as an adult for that as a solution. Somebody scared me as a child with worms. I think I'll see if I can have them in my house, right?
Yeah.
No, it's not logical that you don't make that connection.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now the with the laughter, I think it's made my life so much better. Like, it's just like, I was already on a magic carpet ride with my worm business. This has just amped it up. I really do feel like, oh my gosh, universe, thank you. Wow. The possibilities are infinite when we look around.
Yeah.
Instead of getting mired down in the details and comparing like this one and that one, and, doing what other people think we should be doing. Like our parents telling us, oh, I want you to do this. Oh, you'll make a lot of money if you do this.
Exactly.
Like, so what? Money, you can't eat money.
And ultimately, it's coming down to happiness. You are choosing happiness and something that really lights you up on the inside. You're choosing that over what's easy. Going out and finding a job, submitting an application, doing an interview, that's easy. That's the will you please hand me this opportunity option. And you're choosing the path that's maybe more difficult, but it's the one that actually makes you happy. And that's the key that I think a lot of people, they see entrepreneurship as really difficult, but it's so difficult because they don't care about what they're doing. Maybe they're a writer or a developer or a designer, and they're like, yeah, I have the skills, but they don't actually love it. And what I love about your story is that you have chosen things because you loved them. And that's why they were successful, because you were willing to put your all into something because you loved it. And without that piece, yeah, entrepreneurship's always going to be hard.
Right. Absolutely. That's why they say people, like, businesses come and go, 5 years, I think.
Yeah.
If you're in business 5 years, you've made it.
Yeah. And your business, you've been in business for 20 years now, and looking at your worm business compared to the laughter yoga business, where she almost had to shut down because she just couldn't get enough people, even though she was in the middle of this metropolitan city. What do you see as the difference between, she was doing something that she was really passionate about, but it wasn't working. And yet you did something that you're really passionate about and it worked. What's the difference there?
I would say right now, timing. We have this really cuckoo time.
Yeah.
We had a global mental health crisis before 2020. Now we just have to really look at it because it's bigger. There's more people affected. I would say there's not anybody. It would be the rare person who's not been affected somehow during this time.
Yeah.
And I would say, even though I have all kinds of coping mechanisms, even though I said mechanisms funny, I have moments almost every day where I'm questioning, what's happening, where I'm just a little bit, whoa, just feel, So I can only imagine how it is for other people. And I think that's what the difference is timing. And my really passion for this. During this cuckoo time, I've really been diving deep into the laughter. And why the laughter? Why does it help? Like, ever heard laughter's the best medicine?
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course.
Right?
But
It's universal.
And I think that's the piece that I don't quite understand. I don't understand why her business wasn't working, because for example, your business really took off when you saw that you had a solution to the problem of the Toronto landfill closing down. In her situation, there was COVID, there's rampant depression and anxiety and social isolation and all these things. And then she has this studio that brings people together in joy and laughter. That to me seems like a perfect solution. And I don't ask this to judge her or condemn her or anything like that, but I'm really wondering, what is the learning opportunity there in why couldn't she get traffic into her studio? What have you done or experienced since working with her that has maybe brought in more people? What is that thing, that spark that can help someone go from, this seems like a perfect business idea, I don't understand why it's not taking off, to, oh, I'm actually getting people in the door now?
Yeah, thank you. It's just shifting. I think it's verbiage, it's energy, it's how much
Mm,
energy you bring to it. And I really believe, I mean, I'm being called more on the laughter side during this time
yeah.
than worms. My laughter income has surpassed my worm income,
Mm.
which is
What a cool
it's
thing to be
really
able to say.
it makes me laugh when I say that. I'm just like, gosh. And it's really funny because it's all about what we believe. And I really believe that I have these solutions.
Yeah.
And I believe that, my latest expression is I want people to fall out of the sky into my inbox and send me money so I can make them laugh. That's what I say every day. I say that every day.
Yeah.
And it's happening. People are falling out of the sky into my inbox. I'm like, wow, I wonder where that person came from. Oh, I asked for them.
Yeah.
And so it really is what we say to ourselves, what we believe. And I believe these things. Like I don't know how business works. I really don't. I have no clue. So for the people, the creatives out there that are like, I would love to do this, do it.
Yeah.
There's no set way. Like if people watch Shark Tank or Dragon's Den or any of those pitch shows, they seem like you have to have all your ducks in a row and stuff, and you probably should if you're going to go on a pitch show.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's not all
Right,
there is to it.
that's not all there is to it. They're in it for the money. They, not that they don't care about you. You see that they do pay for the people.
Yeah.
When when you watch those pitch shows and you see who they're standing behind, which offers are getting supported, it's the people that they're usually sponsoring. Like they're like, I
Yes.
really like you as an entrepreneur. You need a lot of work or whatever they say. They give them some coaching, but they say, I like you. I think we can work together.
Yeah.
It's all about people.
Yeah.
So we got to bring energy to what we're doing. We can't go, this is a great idea, and then sit around.
Exactly. Exactly. I want to dive more into this with you. We're going to take a super short commercial break and we'll be right back. Hey, it's Ray. Over the past 5 years, I've been fortunate enough to work with tons of freelancers and self-employed creatives, helping them build healthier, happier, more profitable businesses through private mentoring. And while each person is unique with their own unique business, service, and goals, they've all had one thing in common. They struggle with pricing themselves. And I bet you do too. Pricing is by far the most common obstacle freelancers come up against. It's also the single factor that can make or break your business. Price yourself too low and you're headed for burnout. Price yourself too high and you'll be plagued with imposter syndrome while driving away potentially perfect clients. I want you to soar. That's why I created the Price Yourself Perfectly workshop. Inside, you'll get access to my step-by-step process that I've used with hundreds of freelancers to find the perfect formula for creating a rate sheet clients love. Stop waffling and lingering in uncertainty and start pricing yourself perfectly. Get lifetime access to Price Yourself Perfectly at chironconsulting.us/pricing. We are back with Cathy Nesbitt. Now, Cathy, we were just talking about this idea of you can't just build it and they will come. You can't just create the thing, slap a website on the internet, and then expect money to start rolling in. And one of the things that I love that you said was, it's about the energy that you bring to it. And I think this happens for everyone where you hit a certain point in business, and maybe it's your first day, maybe it's your first month, maybe it's your first decade in, where you hit a point where you go, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if this will be successful. I have hit those points. Everyone has. But I think the important thing, and in talking about the laughter yoga studio and what you identified as the shift, is the energy you bring to it. It's okay to have those bad days, but it's how long are you going to stay there? Are you going to let that bad day turn into a bad month or a bad year? Or are you going to kind of wake yourself up, look around at how much you have to be grateful for, get some energy back into your bones again, and then bring that back to your work, and bring that enthusiasm into the space that you want to feel enthusiastic about. It doesn't always happen where motivation and energy comes first, and then it just kind of naturally comes out of nowhere, and then suddenly everything is miraculous. No, usually you have to find that from a deeper place that isn't associated with the outcome that you want in order to produce the outcome.
Exactly. Yes. And it's not necessarily just about the outcome. It's about the feeling.
Yeah.
Right. Just feeling happy and joyful and inspired with, I work a lot with special needs. And they crack me up. I've been working with one group for just over a year. It's about a year and a half now, I guess. Every Friday, so we have a weekly laughter club, and it's magic medicine. It really is, because it's high vibration. You don't have to understand why it works or anything.
Yeah.
Just being in the energy is beautiful. So I combine, music. So we dance around. It's the deep diaphragmatic breathing. And so Friday is the day, and it's a day program. Friday is the most popular day because of the laughter yoga. The parents love it. They're young adults in Canada. When folks with special needs, and I'm sorry if I'm using the incorrect term, once they turn 21, they're dismissed from the public school system.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. So they're like, oh,
they're out of the system.
Go.
They've grown. They've aged out, basically.
They've aged out. Thank you. Yes. And they're generally put on ODSP, which is a disability pension.
Okay.
Which is not enough to live independently on, by the way. And then if they work, the money is clawed back off their pension. Oh. It's a ridiculous system. Like, the system is really broken. Yeah. So this program is really to help people be with their peers. So generally what happens is a lot of these young adults are in their parents' basement. Not that they're a burden, it's just that they're watching TV or they're playing video games, and that's their lot in life. Yeah. And they're really a big concern for their parents that are also aging out. Yeah. Oh, and you know what's going to happen, right? So having programs like this, it's called Full Access Network, is such a beautiful thing, because they're getting together. They it's just, and it's taken about a year for us really to get to really get comfortable with each other. But when I arrive, I greet each and every person. It takes a few minutes for me to go around and, touch everybody and greet them all. And it's just, again, it's the energy that I bring, and then they match my energy. But they, they're often like, I'm tired. I'm like, good, let's dance. Because then you'll get energy. Like when we move, that's when we get energy. Yeah. If we're sitting still, we're gonna get more tired. Yeah. It's really, it's incredible. I just, I feel so gifted, so grateful for this gift of magic medicine, because it's helped me become more resilient. Things are happening to me as well. I'm a human, of course. As an example, I asked the universe for 4 paid laughter gigs weekly. And it was a couple of weeks ago, I had 4 paid laughter gigs, 3 in one day. You have to be specific, right, when you're asking for things. Someone said, you're going to be really tired. And I did happen to be really tired at the end, right? Because you expel a lot when you're doing it. Yeah. But there I was. I had my laughter club in the morning. I have a free laughter club on Tuesday. So I did my free laughter club. So I was like, good, my Zoom is working, the internet's strong, everything's good. And then an hour later, I had my first of the paid laughter gigs. And there I am. I'm sitting there waiting in the Zoom room. And then there's no internet. All of a sudden, and I was like, okay, before I would have freaked out. I would have been like running around the room, just freaking out, it's stressed, in full up blown stress mode. Instead, I was like, I did some breaths. Of course, I was concerned that I was letting down all those people that were waiting. Sure. The client who had hired me, all of those things, but it was out of my control. Right. Right. why freak out if it's out of your control? Laughter has made me so resilient. I just got on, I was like, okay, well, what are you going to do? And I went and laughed a little bit because it did bug me. And then I also got a big, I got a big tax bill, and I was like, oh, and because I had a really good year the year before. So I was like, oh, and I wasn't paying attention to paying the taxes. And I was like, oh, and so I got my bill and I was like, oh, either I could be like, oh, and freak out, or I started laughing, and I was laughing full on, and I was laughing actually uncontrollably because I really needed to get out of stress.
So this concept of laughing as a stress coping mechanism, I love this. And it's funny because now that you say this, it has me thinking. My husband, while he's working for FedEx, he wakes up at 5 a.m. and he is out the door by 5:30 a.m. And yet somehow, first thing in the morning, we are always laughing. Before he goes to work, we are always making each other laugh. And it's not something that we've tried to do or that we've designed, but those are some of my favorite parts of the day because we're just laughing and being so carefree. And I think especially for entrepreneurs, because you've mentioned that laughter has made you so resilient. And entrepreneurship is something that you need resilience for. That doesn't mean that you should be numb or that nothing should affect you or that you shouldn't have emotional reactions to things. But resilience really means being able to handle it in a healthy way. So for someone who is listening to this and they're thinking, okay, well, maybe I could just try this. Nobody's looking, nobody's listening. Like, maybe I could just try it. Let's see. What would you tell them? Like, how would somebody get started using laughter as a resilience tool?
Oh, thank you. Laughter yogis are prime for this time. We were ready. So it's the 27th anniversary of laughter yoga. There was nothing online before COVID. Now there are clubs. So there are laughter clubs in about 120 countries.
Wow.
So it's right. It's a universal or a global phenomenon. So fun. So I would suggest attending a laughter club online because you're in your own Zoom space. I would suggest having your camera on because it is about connecting and having gallery view as well, by the way, because it's really, you're playing together, eye contact. Laughter's contagious in a good way.
Yeah.
When we're laughing, we're full on present. We can't, you were saying about in the morning, when we're laughing, we are right here. We can't be thinking about yesterday or tomorrow. Like when we're full on, ha ha ha, like our stomach's hurting. Plus, we have to inhale it. You're exhaling. You're just like, ha ha ha. So you're getting rid of all that stale air. You have to at some point go, ha, so that you can continue laughing, right? Your stomach hurts, your cheeks hurt, maybe you're crying a little bit. Those are the laughter muscles, right? The tear ducts, everything's getting cleaned and fresh. And so here's the thing about stress. When we go into stress, which is always because our amygdala, the stress center of the brain, has not evolved. So when we go into stress, which is like always, our body thinks that we're in imminent danger.
Yeah.
We're not always. Like if you lose your keys, you're not going to die.
Right.
Right. It might be inconvenient, whatever,
Your heart races and your palms sweat and you start to get all clenchy and nervous. And yeah, you still get those same physiological responses as if a tiger's chasing you.
As if, right? Our body acts as if. So we stop breathing properly. We shallow breathe. Our brain isn't getting what it needs. And our brain requires 25% more oxygen than the rest of our body as an operating principle. It's a machine, right? The answering machine.
Yeah.
So when we're stressed, blood, lymph, oxygen leave our brain because it goes into our muscles because now we're being chased by a tiger, our body thinks. Or we need to freeze, whatever our response to get out of the stress. And then we're secreting cortisol, which we need a little bit to get off our butt, but not how our body is being flooded now.
Right.
And now our body needs to deal with the cortisol. Just like if you have a fight with somebody and you're angry, and you're shouting and you're all tense and whatever. All of those aggressive chemicals are creating through your body. It takes at least 2 hours for your body to get rid of them. Same on the other side. When you start laughing, you get totally present. your brain gets oxygenated, all of the love drugs start secreting, right? Laughter's the best medicine. Have you had your daily dose?
Yeah.
Dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins.
Yeah.
The love drugs.
Yeah.
So beautiful, right? Sometimes we drink or do drugs or sex or have food things because we want those chemical hits.
Yeah.
Imagine if we can be in charge of our own pharma. Oh, we are. I keep wondering if I'm going to wear out my dispenser.
I think yours just gets stronger the more you use it. It gets habituated to creating the good things as opposed to habituated to creating the bad things.
Well put. Oh, you're so smart. It's because you laugh every morning.
Exactly. I really do. And I mean, I have my husband to thank for that, but it's part of our routine. And it's interesting that now I never really thought of how much of a role laughter has in my day and in my relationship. And but you're right, everything. I'm a very firm believer that the first hour of your day sets the mood for the rest of how your day is going to go. So if you can design the first part of your day to be fun and energetic and in this case full of laughter, full of love, then the rest of your day is going to be that much more amazing, as opposed to if the first hour of your day is consumed with you picking up your cell phone, checking the news, checking Facebook, checking email, getting yourself into those stress responses and the, oh shit, the whole world's going to, kill each other at any moment kind of mentality that the media tends to encourage, then of course the rest of your day is going to be full of stress and anxiety. So I think this is just such an important thing that I've never really looked at. And I'm really glad that we had a chance to talk about this because it's something that is so easy. It's so easy for people to just laugh.
It's so easy, but if laughter's the best medicine, you got to take the pill, e.g. laugh.
Yeah.
To get the benefits.
Exactly. One more question I want to ask you before we end. You are the queen of doing new cool things. I have never heard of a worm business before. I have never heard of laughter businesses before. And you have all these different streams of revenue based on what you're really passionate about. I think this is really important for people who are looking to create something that has longevity. So not just something that's going to keep them busy and, pay for college for the next 2 to 4 years, but actually something that they could build a life around. What advice would you give to someone who has passions that they look at and they go, oh, there's no way I can make a business out of this, but you've clearly done that. So what would you tell them?
I would say, if you're passionate about something and you really want to do that thing, then figure out a way. I mean, just figure out, first of all, how much money do you need? Because we think that we need to have, 6-figure income, and we don't. We really, how much money do you need? And I'm not saying we don't need to plan for the future. Of course, we need to do that too. Just be realistic about what you need. Do you really need to Uber Eats all the time and, have all those really expensive experiences? So you can really have a smaller amount than you really need. And I would say, start, like, if you're an artist and you want to paint, you know that there's a lot of competition. What is going to make you stand out? So you got to figure out what's different. Don't be one of many, be the only one. So I would think that I'm the only laughter leader in the world with worms.
I love that.
Really find your way, because it's so important. We really, we have this one short life. I'm going to be 60 this year in a couple of weeks. Oh no, I'm already 60 by the time this goes live.
Well, happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. And nobody knows how much time they have. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
I gauge a successful day by how many moments of joy I had, how many moments of laughter, how many connections I had. This moment is a beautiful moment. I've enjoyed speaking with you so much. Your voice is so soothing, and your questions are wonderful. And I'm so happy that you laugh every morning. That's what I would say, for people to just start laughing, because when we laugh, it opens up our mind to creativity. So I would say look up rather than looking down. And when we're on our cell thing, I don't have a cell phone, but when we're on that thing, we're looking down. So be on that less by looking up, because you can't find those opportunities looking down. You have to be looking around to see them.
Yeah, beautifully said. Well, you are an absolute delight. Thank you so much for being on the show, Cathy.
Thank you, Ray.
Hey, Ray here again. Thanks for listening. If you liked this episode, please subscribe and rate us in your favorite podcasting platform. Want to be a guest on the show or know someone who has an amazing story of entrepreneurship? Apply on our website at chironconsulting.us/podcast.